Imagine paying a fortune for a transmission repair at 60,000 miles when a simple software adjustment would have saved your Nissan? It's not bad luck. It's the dealership business model. Since 2010, Nissan has hidden critical functions in your dashboard and smart key that your salesperson will never mention because a car that doesn't break down doesn't generate invoices. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 10 best kept secrets of Japanese engineering that only 1% of drivers know. Stay until the end because trick number 1 will save your engine from a catastrophic failure today and save you thousands of dollars in the process. 10. The air conditioning thermal shield. We start with something that in cities like Phoenix, Houston, or Miami is a matter of survival: air conditioning. In these areas, where the thermometer defies all logic, many Nissan drivers complain that after leaving the car under the sun, the AC takes an eternity to cool things down. The common mistake is cranking the fan to maximum immediately and waiting for a thermodynamic miracle. However, physics doesn't forgive. Trying to cool a cabin exceeding 120 degrees Fahrenheit with recycled air is a losing battle from the start. Nissan, aware of this challenge in hot weather markets, included a quick heat purge function linked to the remote control. If you hold down the unlock bar button for more than 5 seconds on models like the Sentra, Altima, or even the Maxima, the front windows will automatically lower. This isn't just a trick to show off in the parking lot. It's an engineering tool so that the hot air, which is lighter and accumulates at the top of the cabin, escapes before you even touch the door handle. By the time you get in, the system no longer has to fight against an extreme heat bubble. But the real secret to optimal performance is hidden in the center console. In many models equipped with automatic climate control, there is an air system self-diagnostic mode that very few people know about. If you press the air conditioning power button together with the recirculation button for a few seconds, the system initiates an electronic sweep of the temperature sensors and blend door actuators. This procedure recalibrates the internal vents. Sometimes the car thinks it has already reached the ideal temperature because a sensor is dirty, blocked, or simply thrown off calibration by sudden voltage changes, and it starts supplying lukewarm air prematurely. By performing this manual reset, you force the compressor and air mixing systems to work with real data, restoring that cooling power the vehicle had when it left the dealership. There is also the recirculation memory trick, which is vital for respiratory health. Has it happened to you that you turn off the car with recirculation enabled to avoid exhaust fumes or road dust getting in, and when you start it again the system resets and opens the vents? In most Nissan sold in the United States, you can lock this function. Simply hold down the recirculation button for about 10 seconds until the LED blinks 3 times. This reprograms the computer's logic. No matter what happens, keep the vents closed until I say otherwise. It's the definitive solution for when you're stuck behind a diesel truck in the heavy stop-and-go traffic of I-95 or driving through industrial zones, ensuring that the air inside your cabin stays as clean and cool as possible. But pay attention, because while you're adjusting the air, there's a secret computer monitoring every voltage in your car behind that touchscreen. What you're about to see next is not a comfort adjustment. It's entering the guts of the system where mechanics erase error codes they want to charge you to fix, as if they were brand new problems. 9. The hidden diagnostic menu, infotainment. This is one of the favorite tricks among people who love technology and prefer to have total control over their vehicle. If your Nissan has a Nissan Connect touchscreen system, you should know that you have a professional-level diagnostic computer right at your fingertips, similar to what technicians use at the dealership, without needing to plug in cables or external OBD2 scanners. To access this hidden universe, the procedure is almost like a secret code. You typically need to turn off the audio, hold down the settings button or menu on some models, and, without releasing it, turn the volume knob quickly several times to the right and then to the left. Within seconds, the standard interface disappears and a service menu appears that looks like something out of a hacker movie. Here, you can view critical data that the main screen normally hides. You can see the real health of your battery through the exact voltage reading, the alternator's performance in real time while the engine is running, and, most importantly for road trippers, the signal strength and number of satellites detected by the GPS antenna. Why is this so useful in our context? If you bought a pre-owned Nissan and notice that the Bluetooth disconnects constantly or that the map gets frozen on one location, this menu lets you determine whether it's a simple software error or whether the physical antenna is disconnected. But the real benefit is the hard reset. In hot regions like the Southwest, infotainment screens often suffer from thermal fatigue or processing errors when connected to phones with corrupted files. Instead of taking the car to the dealership and paying for a costly diagnostic visit of more than $150, you can restart the system from the ground up yourself, clearing cache errors and restoring the original fluidity. Additionally, inside this diagnostic menu, you can customize the speed-sensitive volume. Nissan typically configures this feature at a very low sensitivity from the factory, which forces the driver to adjust the audio manually every time they accelerate. However, from these advanced settings, you can raise the sensitivity level so that as soon as you hit the highway and the noise from wind or tire rolling increases, the stereo automatically compensates the sound. It's a premium feature already built into the cost of your vehicle that has probably been deactivated or going to waste until right now. Mastering this menu not only saves you money on unnecessary dealership visits, but completely transforms your driving experience. Have you ever paid a fortune at the dealership for something that turned out to be just a button adjustment or a reset you could have done yourself? Tell me your story in the comments. 8. The automatic speed lock. This point is vital for safety reasons here in the United States, where prevention is the most valuable tool we have behind the wheel. It is incredibly common for many Nissan vehicles to leave dealerships with the automatic door lock function deactivated by default. This represents an unnecessary risk. You're driving distracted, you forget to press the button manually, and at any red light or momentary stop in traffic, you and your belongings are left vulnerable to any outside threat. The good news is that you don't need to schedule a service appointment or pay for a professional scanner to be plugged in. The manual programming trick is extremely simple and effective. The procedure requires you to put the car in the ignition on or on position, meaning the dashboard is illuminated, but without actually starting the engine. Once in this mode, hold down the lock button on the driver's door for a period of between 5 and 10 seconds. When that time is up, you'll hear a distinctive click or notice the hazard lights on the dashboard flashing briefly. Done. From that moment on, as soon as the speedometer reaches 15 miles per hour, your Nissan's computer will send the command to lock all doors automatically, giving you immediate peace of mind. But there is a second part of this system that very few owners know about, and that is equally relevant: the intelligent and selective unlock. This function lets you program the vehicle's behavior at the end of your trip. You can decide whether, when you put the gear shift in park or fully turn off the engine, the car should unlock all doors or only the driver's door. For people who travel alone in cities with challenging environments, the most advisable setting is to configure the system so that only the driver's door unlocks. This prevents someone from being able to open the rear doors or the passenger door while you're preparing to exit the vehicle. This configuration is achieved in the same way as the previous one, but by holding down the unlock button on the door for 10 seconds. It is, in essence, a personalized layer of security that Nissan's engineering designed to adapt to the needs of different global markets, and that you have the power to control with a single finger. Taking advantage of these functions not only improves the ownership experience but optimizes the technological resources you already paid for when you bought the vehicle, ensuring that the car works in favor of your physical safety and that of your passengers on every mile of the road. Activating the locks protects you from the outside. But what are you going to do when your smart key simply decides to stop responding in the middle of nowhere? There's a design quirk that leaves 99% of drivers locked out of their own Nissan. And if you don't know the induction trick coming up next, you could end up paying for a tow truck over a $5 battery. 7. The smart key and silent mode. You've probably experienced this more than once. You get home late after a long day, you try to lock your Nissan as discreetly as possible, and when you press the remote button, the car lets out a powerful horn blast that wakes up the entire neighborhood and sends the dog next door into a frenzy. What most American drivers do in this situation is simply endure the embarrassment or try to lock the vehicle using the physical key to avoid the noise. However, Nissan's engineers designed a flexible system so that you, not the car, decide exactly how your vehicle communicates with you and your surroundings. There is what experts call silent mode. To activate or deactivate it according to your needs, you don't need to make any service appointment at the dealership or use any special tools. The procedure is extremely simple. Just hold down both the lock and unlock buttons on your remote control simultaneously for a period of 3 to 5 seconds. You'll notice that the hazard lights, commonly known as the flashers, will blink in an informative pattern. If the lights flash 3 times, it means the horn has been successfully deactivated for locking. If they blink only once, the sound has been reactivated. This feature is a true marvel of personalization, allowing you to secure the car in a completely discreet manner, relying solely on the visual signal of the lights to confirm that the locks are engaged. But the true secret of the smart key, and perhaps the most important for your peace of mind, is the induction start system. What happens when, out of nowhere, the battery in your remote runs dead? Many owners panic because modern models no longer have a visible slot where you can insert a traditional metal key. You try pressing the start button and the dashboard shows the dreaded "no key detected" message. Before you decide to call a tow truck or spend a fortune on roadside assistance, you need to know the backup mechanism. Nissan installed a short-range emergency antenna right behind the start-stop button or, on certain models, on the side of the steering column. You just have to bring the remote close, even if it has absolutely no charge left in its internal battery, and press the start button directly with the body of the key fob itself. The residual energy from the car's electrical system is capable of activating the proximity security chip in the key through extreme physical closeness, allowing the engine to start immediately. This is a life-saving feature that 90% of drivers are completely unaware of, until they find themselves stranded in a shopping mall parking lot or in a deserted area late at night. Knowing these technical details not only gives you greater convenience but grants you total autonomy over your vehicle. 6. The muted and personalized reverse sensor. If you own a recent model Nissan, you'll know perfectly well that the reverse sensors are an absolute blessing for modern driving. Though in certain circumstances they can also become a subtle form of nerve torture. Picture the scene. You're trying to park in an incredibly tight space downtown, surrounded by pedestrians crossing unexpected potholes and the deafening noise of urban traffic. At that critical moment, the car starts emitting a frantic non-stop beeping that would rattle even the most experienced driver. That auditory stress often causes you to over-accelerate from the pressure or misjudge the actual distances, ending up with a small dent that could have been avoided. What very few owners know is that in the menu of the small digital screen, that liquid crystal gem is strategically positioned between the speedometer and tachometer, you have total control over this technology. By navigating using the steering wheel controls, you can enter the section called Driver Assistance and then go to Parking Aids. In this hidden menu, you not only have the option to turn the sound off completely if it bothers you, but you can also make fine adjustments to the alert volume, and, most importantly of all, modify the detection distance of the system. Why do we consider this an essential hidden feature for the American driving environment? The answer is straightforward. Our parking lots and urban street conditions don't always match the generous spacing standards found in Japan, or reflected in Nissan's default factory settings. In our day-to-day lives, we're often forced to maneuver until we're just inches away from a concrete wall, a misplaced pole, or another vehicle. If your Nissan sensor stays at its standard factory setting, it will start emitting a continuous danger beep when you still have 12 to 16 inches of free space, deceiving you into thinking you've already reached the limit. By adjusting the sensitivity to a closer range, you force the car to be much more honest and precise about the actual space you have available. As if that weren't enough, on larger SUVs like the Kicks or the Rogue, this menu allows advanced customization of the 360-degree surround view camera. You can configure the system so that the image stays on the main screen even after you've taken the car out of reverse, giving you a few extra seconds of front and side vision to finish settling perfectly into the parking space. In practical terms, it's like having a personal electronic parking assistant that is always alert, never makes mistakes, and, best of all, doesn't ask for a tip when the job is done. Mastering these adjustments lets you reclaim your calm and precision, turning a stressful situation into a smooth professional maneuver. If you think the reverse sensors are smart, wait until you see how your Nissan uses the speed sensor to predict weather conditions on your windshield. Many people think their wipers are failing or squeaking because they're old, when the reality is that you have a deactivated function that's destroying your wiper blades at every red light without you even noticing. 5. There's a speed-sensitive wiper adjustment. This feature is one of those that, at first glance, seems like technological magic. But in reality, it's pure engineering hidden in your vehicle's software. In America, we all know that when it rains, it really rains, turning traffic in our cities into absolute chaos of poor visibility and reflections. One of the most annoying and distracting details of driving through a storm is having to constantly fiddle with the wiper stock. You've surely noticed that when you stop at a red light, water no longer hits the windshield with the same intensity as when you're cruising at 40 miles per hour, causing the blades to squeak across the nearly dry glass. Nissan has integrated an intelligent solution to this inconvenience through a hidden feature called speed-sensitive wipers. In a large number of models, even those that don't come with the expensive automatic rain sensors, the car's central computer stays in constant communication with the speed sensor and the wiper stock module. There is a specific setting in the programming that allows the car, when the wipers are set to intermittent, to detect the exact moment you come to a complete stop. At that instant, the system automatically increases the waiting time between each sweep. As soon as you release the brake and accelerate again, the cleaning rhythm returns to normal fluidly. If you notice your car isn't making this adjustment on its own, the function has very likely been deactivated by default in the comfort menu. To enable it, you need to navigate through the dashboard's digital screen to Vehicle Settings, find the Wipers section, and activate the Speed Dependent option. Making this small configuration change brings benefits that go beyond simple convenience. First, it prevents the wiper blades from wearing out unnecessarily by scrubbing the glass, when there isn't enough water, which extends the service life of these vital safety components. Second, and perhaps most importantly, it allows you to keep both hands firmly on the steering wheel instead of fighting with the stalk every 2 or 3 minutes. It's a refinement detail that makes driving through heavy rain a much less stressful experience, allowing you to focus all 5 senses on spotting potholes hidden beneath puddles and monitoring the erratic movements of other drivers. At the end of the day, it's this kind of attention to detail that proves your Nissan is designed to work with you, adapting to real road conditions without you having to constantly ask it to. 4. The Smart Panic Button. The red button on your remote has a terrible reputation among vehicle owners. Almost all of us have pressed it by accident at some point, and gone through the enormous embarrassment of the car screaming frantically in the middle of a public place, drawing looks of disapproval from everyone around. However, Nissan's engineers gave this button a series of secondary functions that are extremely useful, especially when you're facing the massive parking lots of American shopping malls during the holiday season or back-to-school sales, where finding your car among hundreds of similar vehicles seems like an impossible mission. If you can't locate your car among hundreds of lookalikes, you don't need to trigger the full panic alarm, which emits a loud, stressful, and inconsiderate noise. Instead, there is the so-called discrete locator mode. If you press the lock button twice quickly, the car will emit a short chirp of the horn and turn on the parking lights to greet you. But there's a more advanced level. If you hold the lock button down for just 1 second, without reaching the full 3 seconds that trigger the panic alarm, some models perform a high beam light sweep. This flash is much more visible at a distance, allowing you to locate your Nissan even if it's hidden behind a large pickup truck or SUV. The most interesting and valuable aspect of this system is its application in preventive security. Something fundamental if you're forced to leave the car in a spot you consider poorly lit or unsafe. You can use the panic button in a strategic way before you even reach the door. If you hold the panic button down lightly as you approach the car from about 30 to 50 feet away, the interior cabin lights will turn on before you deactivate the electronic locks. This small lighting trick allows you to perform a quick visual inspection to check whether anyone is hiding inside or in the immediate surroundings of the vehicle before you expose yourself by opening the door. It's a personal safety feature that Nissan integrated with specifically proactive user protection in mind, and one that, unfortunately, the vast majority of people see only as an annoying button for making noise by accident. Learning to use this control correctly gives you a tactical surveillance advantage before you get into your vehicle. Instead of being a source of awkward situations, the red button becomes an ally that offers you visibility and security in unfamiliar environments. In the end, those 2 or 3 seconds of precaution can make a big difference in your daily peace of mind, transforming a simple plastic accessory into an advanced personal protection tool. Use the panic button to survey your surroundings, but don't let your guard down just yet. In a moment, we're going to get to the engine secret that dealerships hate, but first, I'm going to reveal how to make your Nissan literally walk you to your front door. 3. The Follow Me Home feature. You get home after an exhausting day. The street is extremely dark, or maybe the main light in your garage has burned out again. You get out of the car and suddenly face the challenge of having to walk practically blind to the front door, wasting precious seconds searching for your keys in the depths of your pocket or the bottom of your bag in total darkness. Nissan solved this everyday inconvenience with an engineering feature officially called Follow Me Home, though in the technical documentation and owner's manual, it usually appears as a specific delayed headlight shut-off setting. The most fascinating thing about this tool is that it is incredibly simple to activate and requires no navigation through complex digital menus or expertise in automotive technology. The procedure is purely mechanical and direct once you turn off the engine and remove the key, or turn off the system using the start button. Before you open the driver's door, you pull the headlight stalk toward you. It's exactly the same motion you make when you want to flash your high beams or give a quick signal on the highway. When you do so, you'll hear a brief audio cue and notice that the headlights turn on immediately, flooding the front of the vehicle with clear, powerful light. The flexibility of this system is remarkable. Every time you pull the stalk toward you, you are adding 30 more seconds of illumination to the countdown. You can repeat this action up to 4 consecutive times to get a total of 2 full minutes of constant light. Thanks to this, you can now get out of the cabin calmly, lock your Nissan with the remote, and walk comfortably toward the safety of your home with your path perfectly illuminated by the power of your own car. You don't have to worry about going back to turn anything off. The lights will switch off on their own automatically once the time you set with the stock movements has elapsed. There's a common myth about whether this could drain the battery, but the reality is that Nissan's energy management system cuts the current off completely after that period, protecting the life of the battery. It is a safety and courtesy feature that transforms your relationship with your vehicle, making you feel that your car is genuinely watching over you and lighting your steps, even after the journey has formally ended. In many neighborhoods and suburbs across America, where unfortunately street lighting isn't always the best or is simply insufficient, this Follow Me Home feature is not just a luxury. It becomes simply indispensable for your peace of mind and that of your family every night when you come home. It's incredible to have light in your driveway, but it won't do you any good if tomorrow you pull out onto the road and feel like your engine has lost all its power. Many Americans think their transmission is dying and brace themselves to spend $3,000 or more, when in reality all they have is a lazy computer. What comes next is the difference between a car that flies and one that ends up in the junkyard out of pure ignorance. 2. The CVT transmission reset. If you own a Nissan equipped with the well-known CVT transmission, whether in popular models like the Versa, the Sentra, or the upscale Altima, you've probably heard criticism or negative comments about its long-term performance at some point. However, before you panic, it's essential to understand that the primary problem isn't always a failure of the gears or the steel belt. These transmissions are extremely intelligent systems that use advanced software to learn and adapt to your specific driving style. The trouble arises when you habitually drive in heavy stop-and-go traffic, like what you experience daily on the interstates and city streets of major metro areas, or if you always keep a very light foot on the pedal to save fuel. Over time, the transmission computer gets used to that lack of demand, and the car starts feeling sluggish, slow on merges, and with a delayed response, something many drivers describe colloquially as a car that just has no get up and go. Before considering a costly trip to the mechanic thinking the transmission has reached the end of its useful life, you need to try the CVT Learning Reset. This is a technical sequence programmed by Nissan's engineers that clears the computer's volatile memory and returns it to its original factory values, causing the system to recover the responsiveness it had when the vehicle was brand new. The procedure is exact and must be followed with precision. First, get into the car and make sure all doors are closed to avoid interference from the safety sensors. Put the ignition switch in the on position so that all the warning lights on the dashboard illuminate, but make absolutely sure you do not start the engine. Immediately after, press the accelerator all the way to the floor and hold it there for exactly 30 seconds. Without releasing the pedal under any circumstances, turn the key or press the button to switch the ignition to the off position. Finally, release the pedal and wait at least 2 full minutes without pressing any buttons or opening the doors. During those 120 seconds, the transmission computer resets its complex shift algorithms and pulley pressure values. When you start the engine again and take the vehicle onto a highway, you'll immediately notice that the throttle response is much more agile and that continuous acceleration feels noticeably more firm and decisive. In our environment, where many of us spend 5 or 6 hours a week trapped in traffic jams, this reset should be performed every 3 or 4 months to maintain the vehicle's vitality. It's a trick that many transmission specialists prefer not to publicize, since in a large number of cases the supposed failure is not real mechanical damage, but simply a computer that learned to be lazy due to the routine of city traffic. Applying this knowledge lets you fully reclaim the power of your Nissan without spending a single cent. Before we continue, subscribe and hit like to learn more about these fascinating topics. 1. The engine self-diagnostic mode. We've finally arrived at what many consider the holy grail of Nissan's most technical secrets. If you own a Nissan in the United States, you'll know perfectly well that one of the greatest fears behind the wheel is watching the check engine light suddenly illuminate on the dashboard, right when you're on a road trip with the family or when it's time to take the car in for an emissions inspection. The panic sets in immediately because you fear the mechanic might invent 1,000 non-existent faults to charge you for. However, this is where the best-kept secret lies. Your car has the ability to tell you exactly what's wrong with it, without needing a professional scan tool that costs $500 or more. There is an extremely precise technical sequence known among enthusiasts as the pedal dance. To activate it, the engine must be off but the ignition switch must be in the on position. The key to success is the rhythm. Almost like a musical score, you must press the accelerator all the way to the floor 5 times within a span of less than 5 seconds. Then wait exactly 7 seconds and finally hold the pedal all the way down for an additional 10 seconds. If you perform this procedure correctly, the check engine light on the dashboard will begin to blink in a rhythmic pattern. Why can this trick save your engine's life? Because those blinks are not random. They are diagnostic codes. For example, 10 slow blinks followed by 3 fast ones represent a specific misfire fault code. Here in the US, where fuel quality can sometimes vary by region and excess road dust can prematurely clog mass airflow sensors, this self-diagnostic mode allows you to gauge the true severity of the issue. You might discover it's simply a dirty sensor that you can clean yourself with a specialized spray available for under $15 at any auto parts store, saving you from costly or unnecessary repairs. Additionally, this service mode allows you to run the idle air volume learning procedure. If after washing the engine bay, performing a tune-up, or simply replacing the battery, you notice the car idling rough or wanting to stall at a stop, it's because the computer lost its air intake calibration. By completing this pedal sequence, the computer automatically adjusts the throttle body, restoring the engine's stability. It's a professional-level function that gives you total control over your machine and acts as a protective shield so that no dishonest mechanic can try to charge you for phantom repairs. Mastering this method not only saves you money, it gives you the peace of mind of knowing the health of your Nissan intimately, at any moment. The automotive industry sacrificed simplicity for a costly digitalization that only benefits service shops. But now you know that the best Nissans aren't smartphones on wheels. They're reliable machines that you can still control. What's a feature from older cars that you miss the most on today's dashboards? Leave me your story, subscribe for more engineering secrets, and I'll see you on the road.